Welcome to another Beyond the Boundary Westmarches Revival Guide. Today we're going to be going over the uh, the VTT, the tabletop that we're going to be using. The website is called Roll20. Um, the way that you get to it is heading into our Discord. You can go to the guidelines section and it always lists our most up-to-date Roll20 link. Anything like it doesn't work anymore, let us know. We'll just copy and paste a new one. So what you'll do is, if you haven't got an account before, we open up the Roll20 website and you can paste the link that you get from Discord or just click it. Opening it up, you'll get a prompt to sign in with your email address, and then you just set up a um, password under the create account section. But if you've already done that, skip ahead in the video using the chapters below. So if you create an account, you go in and you just fill in your first name, last name. What I would suggest is just moving away from actually putting in your first name and last name. Use your character's name or a generic gamer tag for me is good. I use Soda, yeah, and it literally allows it. Put in your email address here because that will be needed because it may send you an email. Set the password and create your account. Once you've done that, click login, sign in with those details, and you'll be on to a page that looks like this, where you get your games. You click on the revival, or you can click back again using the link in the Discord here. What that'll do is it'll bring you to this page, and you'll be one of the new players here in the player section. From that, what we'll do is go ahead and launch the game. So you click the launch game button, and what should happen is that the game will open up, and you'll see that the screen changes to this loading bar, but on the loading bar side is the map, and on the other quarter of this screen over here, this section will be our chat and settings kind of section. So you might be a bit confused at what you see straight away. What I would say is if your screen is too bright, you can enable the dark mode here if it looks like this. Just turning on the night shade option over there. On the side here, you have a few options for the Roll20's measurement tools, drawing tools, stuff like that. Yours might be a bit shorter than mine, just because I've got a few add-ons for my browser that make it a bit easier to DM, as well as be a player. Yeah, the first thing that you should see is stuff like this, chat tips. So what we're going to do is go into looking at your character sheet, looking at how to chat, how to roll, looking at how to import things using the compendium that's already there, and finally stuff like making sure your settings are correct. But what we'll do is we'll start off on those settings because it is sometimes the most annoying for some people. So here in the My Settings cog, it's right at the top right there. You may not have this top part, but definitely you'll have personalization, display, graphics, and all these other options down here. Display name, you might have your, gamer tag here like I do, but you want it to be your character name. When you figure out your character name, just change it. I'll make mine Charles Big Hammer, which isn't my character, but yeah, for sure. What we'll do after that is you can see down the bottom my character name is my display name. The one that we're trying to go into is audio and video, and you can get a video display. Usually you'll see these big avatars that can take up a lot of the screen, and It's a bit strange. I prefer names only. And in the audio video chat section, I would turn these to none because I don't want to have voice chats on or microphone inputs being selected, and then you just hit reconnect. Once you hit reconnect, it should just set up these or restart your page. It hasn't for me, just because I've already done it before. The other one I like to tick is in text chat options and enabling a timestamp so that if I type something, it'll be 1d10 roll. You can see that it happens at a certain time. And then if someone talks maybe a minute or two later, it's like roll a d10 and you could just say, hey, look, it was a bit ago, but I rolled it already. On top of that, what we'll do is go over the tabs that you should be seeing. Let me just double check that I'm on the right. Yeah, I'm on the right thing. What we're going to start with is our front screen. So hopefully yours should look like this. And what that means is that we can go in and expand out on our journal for our characters. So characters here, this one here, copy of copy. Yeah, this one here I have access to. What you'll see in the beginning is that you've got a few tabs up here. Character sheet. There's the one that we saw before, which is bio and info, but that's not yet filled out, and we can walk through how to fill that out for your character later. And these tabs here, these ones are local to my add-on pool that I've got, and on my browser I've got a few add-ons that allow me to generate macros or edit my token, which is a lot easier than editing it normally. We'll start off with one of the characters here, so we're going to be using this, I think it's this link. What we'll do is we'll find out. So we'll just rename our character and we'll call it Charles B. Taylor. And so now we know that that's Charles. With Charles, we can attach a picture. Yeah, we'll just use this. So Charles, we can attach a picture, but this is not how you'd usually be doing it unless you have the add-on. And I can walk you through how to do that in another smaller video. But now we can see Charles has a token based on that picture that we just uploaded. In here is a bit of a normal kind of Roll20 sheet. What I would say is if you're not wanting to drag things off onto it, if you're actually playing, you can open up the pop out button. If you pop it out, it comes its own tab. So on its own tab, it's a lot easier to kind of manage. If you have a second screen, you just drag it off onto that screen. But for the sakes of this guide, I'm going to close that out because we want to have the sheet open. And what we're going to do is make my first character. So in Roll20, when you have your character sheet up and running, there is information in here on these rows that are already kind of like written in, filled out. But other parts you need to update yourself because these are automatically locked in through a code depending on your stats. So once you have your stats kind of decided using a online tool that we have, I'll use an example one that I've got for this ranger, I think, which I can't look at. But the ranger had 14 dexterity. The ranger had 8 strength, 12 constitution, 14 wisdom, and 12 charisma. with I think a 9 intelligence. So what the program here has done is it's already started um, inputting what these pluses and minuses to your stat bonuses are in the character sheet sections over here. And you can kind of see that it says it's a wisdom attribute for this one here called survival. And it's the same for this, like stealth has a dexterity attribute attached to it. So if I up my stealth to 20, the plus goes to a 5, and now my stealth is 5. We'll take it back to 14. And it's back to a 2. So stuff like your initiative is based on your dexterity, and your armor class will be too. So what we'll do is we'll go over some of the options here. The ones that we need to fill out are armor class, speed, hit points. And then you'll see your class and race and stuff details here, which is what we're going to work through as well. We need to make sure that you're clicking this little invisible, hard to see cog right up in the bottom, top right of background. In here, you can choose your class. What I would say is there's a little bit of a better way to do it, and we'll start by doing it that way. So what I'll do is I'll get you to click on the compendium. It's the eye icon at the top. Looks like information kiosk. Here has all the classes, so you can click in on class, and it will actually list all the classes. You can actually have a read through of the class features if you wanted to by scrolling down this list. I'm going to say that my character is going to be a ranger. Ranger here will be able to be dragged as a whole text box. So you can drag from the word ranger or the white space next to it, drag it onto your character sheet, and this little box appears as you hover over it, and you notice that your screen on the character sheet will turn yellow. Click and drop it, and you'll actually become a ranger. What that does is it fills out your saving throws, your proficiencies. It's stuff that you can get from reading through this. It shows here your proficiencies, it shows here some of your details. And what we'll do is, now that that's level 1, we need to adjust it because your character will be level 2. So what I'll do is just type in level 2, and we know that we would want a second level feature, but it doesn't allow us to just import a second level feature. But I'll do that later for you, working together with the DM. On top of that, you then start choosing your options, so intimidation, perception, and stealth. So I've chosen that. Same thing goes for backgrounds. So if you go into the background section of the compendium, the only one that's listed is Acolyte. That's the only one that's free in the default SID. So I'll just make this character an Acolyte. And Acolytes get a choice between Insight and get to choose Insight and Religion for free. So we already had Insight. So I'm going to make that History from my other option, Nature from my other option, and Religion. Nice. Oh, the program actually did it for me. That's very cool. So dragging out an Acolyte actually adds those features. What as well we'll do is the game we've customized it so that you can pick any. Say you didn't want religion, but you wanted to still be an Acolyte. Maybe the Acolyte that you are is not from a religious sect, but more from a kind of like a small little like monastery that teaches values rather than gods. You can take away the religion, and let's say you learnt the values of medicine from that monastery, and you're an acolyte learning that. medicinal side of it instead. You can change that from your background as you please, because that's one of the features that we've allowed from Tasha's. Going back here, all of the base weapons, base armors should be here, but what we'll do is we'll walk through a bit more on that later. But if you do choose to go into the items and look for your armor, you can do so, or you could start by looking up the armor here. So say one of the options guarantees you a splint armor. You should be able to see splint armor there, and drag it onto your sheet, and it will fill in the armor class for you. So on this tab here, core features notes equipment, it's gone to equipment, and it fills in that you have splint armor. What I would say is go into modify at the bottom. I'll drag this out so you can see all of it once. Go modify down here at the bottom, and you can drag your splint armor into that armor section that I've created, and now you'll see that your armor is splint armor. It says E for equipped. If you hit the little invisible cog next to that row, you can unequip it, and you could just be wearing nothing but carrying splint armor. What that does is it gets rid of the armor class roll, but if you add it again, you now have the armor class. Oh, I see. I've disabled it by default. There's a reason for that. We'll go over that in a bit. But let's just say 17 is armor class. Moving on. Any of the other features, like your spells, will be in here. Lists their slots. If you need to, I can go into that in depth with you in another video. Options here, you shouldn't really have to fiddle with this too much, but I might ask you to jump into this screen and adjust stuff like intelligence for initiative every so often. But I'll walk you through how to do that if you get stuck. The last two things on the sheet that aren't filled out by default is the speed and the hit points. So for brevity's sake, we know that we roll, by default we roll a d10 plus 10, sorry, a d8, plus you get all of the 8 from your first level. So as a hit point character of a d8, you start out with 8, and we know our constitution is +1, so we'll add 2. 1 plus 1, 2. So we've got 2, 8, and a d8. So we'll roll that, and we know now that we have 13 hit points, which is woo, sheesh. So what will happen is now we have a hit point dice, and we know that I know that I'm going to be playing as a human, just a normal human. Human. And what that'll do is change my speed. So my speed has been adjusted to what a human speed can do in the game. This here is a temporary hit points. Don't let this and this field kind of trip you out, because this is just what your hit points bonus is, and this is your actual hit points that you have before you fall over and go unconscious. This one here is the maximum, so this 13 often can't go over the other one. If you do, your health will probably start saying that you're really healthy, that you're robust or something, just because you've kind of gone over. The token will definitely let you know. You'll have a plus sign. On top of that, you can use the compendium for your weapons, and what that'll do is make it so that you don't have to open up this attack section and kind of manually add your own attack. You can type in weapon, you'll see what we want is specifically they start out with a choice with a longbow, so I'm going to use a longbow. And I'll just drag the word longbow onto my sheet. That'll fill out the equipment, and I just tick the box. That longbow's already set up. Modify it and drag it into the weapon section. So it's sheathed in my weapon on my back. Hit dice 2 out of 2 just because I have both of them. And what it's done now is that there's an attack section here. In this example as well, I'm going to grab a dagger, do the same thing. And now I have daggers to throw as well. So you see I have 2 macros, and these macros are actually like smart. They've already added your dexterity bonus and proficiency with longbows and daggers. It's definitely very fun, very interesting playstyle to kind of have. What you can do is, if you know that you're going to be the fighting style that gets a +2 to ranged attacks, I would add longbow here, +2. So now I have a +6. And if I upgrade my dexterity, let's say I get to level 4 and I up my dexterity to 16, that will now change its number to a 7 for me automatically and increase the damage that it does with the +3 instead of +2. There you go. Outside of that, there's not much left you have to do on the sheet. You can go into the features section and add your features, add your character details. But in additional notes in here, you can add how much XP you'll be getting as a good tracker. I would suggest just doing this just by XP tracker. And just say XP to level 3. And you start off with 0. You take about 100 XP. Every level is 100 XP. But you can see that you're that far away to level 3. Once this fills up, once you get 100 XP's worth of XP, you'll jump up to level 3. And we'll talk about that leveling process a bit more in another video. So outside of features, notes, this information section is just boxes for you to fill in details. Say you know you're going to be part of an organization like a guild of mages. Allied with my handler. I am part of the Conclave Guild. So this kind of information will be good to just add information about your character. Guards across space in an X shape. You can also put that information in here. On this section over here, an effect and condition, what I usually get people to add is if you're a legacy character, this is what will be getting you to do straight away when you first create your character. But if not, you can kind of ignore this part and move on to the next section in the chapters below. But this section here, we go over our 3 defensive stats. So that's EV, AC, and AR. And what we do is we put numbers next to them. I'm going to put zeros right now, just because I'll have to figure out what they are for my character. And you'll see that you'll have these 3 stat lines. And when a DM looks into your sheet, they can see that. And we'll start accordingly adjusting your token to help you out with that. So what we saw is our armor's a splint armor, which means that it gets its 17 when you start out. I know that the splint armor is actually broken, so it's 17 minus 1, which is 16, just because it's a bit lowered. When you wear the splint armor, you get such low evasion, so normally it's like 10 or something, 10 plus your dexterity, but heavy armors get locked in. You're stuck on that 16. And then finally, let's say that my character has a bit more strength for this. Finally, the armor reduction, because we know it's a 7. And the armor's not too badly broken. So I think it stays on a 6 until you get it repaired up. So now we know if you're hit anywhere between 8 and 6 on the rolls, like 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 16, you'll be reducing that damage by 6. If they go over 16 or hit 16, then you don't get this damage reduction at all. And we'll walk over that in another guide for how to make your character as a legacy. So now that we've got the sheet all filled out, perfectly set up, ready to be kind of worked on by DM with yourself, what you should be able to see is Charles has a token set up now. And you just click and drag that. What we'll do is we'll give this token as a DM, we'll give it vision out to about 10 feet. And we can see that there's lanterns and stuff in here that are pre-set up. So you can see that if your character moves around the field, you'll unlock more of the vision that you can see of things. So to move around the field, you can either click and drag your token. Do so by hovering over it, and you'll see the directional arrows. You're not right in the right place, you'll not see it. Try to get into any of these circles at the top, it will get confused. And at the topmost part of your character, you've got a little like widget to spin it and stuff. Say if your character's the wrong way and you face that way, you can do that. But yeah, drag the character along. Hit Q, sorry. If you hit Q while you're holding your character, you'll get how far that is that you're moving away from that starting position. And you can press Q again and then say, hey, look, I'm going to move from that new position to this position. And then again, Q one more time to get you a full 30 feet. And of course, your character could walk a lot further than 30 feet. But say you wanted to maneuver around the battlefield, you need to know that that's the case. Once you've got that down as well, you could just use the mouse button, the keyboard buttons for up, down, left, right to go in the directions that you've done, as long as you've got your character token selected. One of the main things is when your character is selected and you've been asked to roll initiative, that information's all here, so you can roll initiative here. You can use your hit dice here. All these buttons kind of look like they're just hard to read small little buttons, but they'll light up with red if they have a interactive macro set up for it. So if you need a death save. But we'll roll initiative, and then if you click on your token, make sure it's clicked. You'll add yourself to the initiative tracker, which is hidden right now. Wow. Just make sure your character token is selected when you go to click initiative. On top of that, what we'll do is just go over a few of the other things in another guide. So if you have any further questions, a few of the links to the other sections of our YouTube channel, which explain some more of the content, will be listed below or in the Discord, or just hit us up as DMs, or even the other players can kind of give you a bit more advice. But hopefully this was a little bit helpful for your whole learning experience on how to use Roll20. Thanks again for your time, and look forward to seeing you out there in the deep jungles.